Alright guys, MattG here back again today. Hope you're enjoying your Sunday so far, although I imagine it's very early for you guys over in the States. Today I wanted to talk, of course, about the first day of CDL, Atlanta, home series, whatever exactly you want to call it. Some really great series yesterday and does set up for hopefully the finale we were looking for, but definitely not exactly in the way a lot of people were expecting. A couple of Chicago's matches really coming down to the wire, especially the first one, which could have flipped the whole tournament on its head. If Chicago had have lost their first series, we're going to go into quite some depth about it because it was a game 5 round 11 barn burner of a series, to be honest, against the Toronto Ultra. If they'd have lost that, they'd have gone down to the losers bracket within their group, and then, you know, if they had have still made it out the group, they would have then been playing against Atlanta FaZe in the very first round, which in an ideal world we want to see that matchup in the grand final. Let's get into it today. Like, if you guys enjoy it, subscribe if you're new. As always, I would greatly appreciate. I do these videos all the time. First of all, Cam Allen, big thanks to him, and Horizontal as well. I'll leave both their links down in the description box below. All the scoreboards that I'm going to go through in this video, kindly, you know, put together by these gentlemen, just doing it all day. So much effort and so much grafting went in to make these fantastic scoreboards for the community to look at. So I'd greatly appreciate it if you go down and follow these guys on Twitter down in the description box below, because, you know, they make this kind of stuff possible and do it all for free. This is the first matchup, London Royal Ravens versus the Florida Mutineers. A 3-1 victory for London, and honestly, this was pretty damn comfortable. Like, Wiskin honestly just had another unbelievable series, but Scraps had a great series as well. Pretty much those two having a good series and Dylan being a solid player, that's what you need to win a series. And Rated, of course, put up a 1.2 KD as well. Pretty much over all the maps, apart from the domination. Pretty dominant for London. Like, both of the respawns are pretty comfortable. The Search and Destroy 6-2, they lost the dom, but that's a feature we see quite often in these games, to be honest. The worst team, I suppose, winning the domination throughout the series. 3-1, honestly, pretty stomping. Pretty impressed by London in this series, and I was pretty impressed with them as well later on in the day. This was the matchup of the day for me. Huntsman versus the Toronto Ultra, and I'm going to go through every single map here because it was a super exciting one, and I want to share with you guys a couple of clips as well, especially from this game 5. So first of all, the game started off pretty damn close. Honestly, the Toronto Ultra were in the lead here. This was on, what was the map called? Hackney Yards Hardpoint, I believe. And, you know, Ultra went up pretty early on. Then Huntsman made a really good comeback, ended up winning it 250 to 203. This is the point in the series that you're thinking, oh, okay, fine. You know, Ultra had their good start. Now Chicago really got their groove going, and now they're going to run away with the rest of the series. Wasn't the case at all. Ultra dominated the second map here on Piccadilly. This is an interesting storyline to keep your eyes on, really, was the Chicago Huntsmen's Search and Destroy capabilities this weekend. They did end up winning when it matters, but still, a little bit questionable, because what we're seeing here probably is that Huntsman have only played this map once, I think, so far. They beat London on it, or they beat Empire on it, 6-5 at London. But clearly Ultra have been doing their research. They knew this was going to be their first round matchup. If there's one game mode that you can look into, you know, researching strategies and trying to hard counter stuff, it's Search and Destroy. Definitely paid off dividends here. Bance had an unbelievable map at 11-2. 1-1 it then goes. Huntsman win the domination in a pretty damn comfortable fashion. Not much to talk about here. But then the game 4, really comfortable for Ultra in the end. They just ran away with the entire map, and honestly, big credit to the SMGs. This was on Gunrunner Hardpoint, and Bance, Cammy, and Classic, like, I don't think they missed a bullet this entire map. Honestly, Classic, just wanted to give some credit to him. Like, obviously, Bance has a fantastic map here, but throughout the whole tournament so far, Classic has been such a damn good player, and really does deserve some credit, especially given what he was like last season. Yes, he won the tournament at Fort Worth in Black Ops 4, but he was considered one of the, you know, weakest players in the game when the Rampart, you know, kind of moved out of the meta and got nerfed a little bit. Classic really wasn't a great player. Back in the Infinite Warfare days, though, he was really good, and in Infinite Warfare games, or Infinity Ward games more generally, he's been a really good player, and he seems to be continuing it here. So it's great to see him bounce back from a pretty damn, you know, tough Black Ops 4 by his own personal standards. But, you know, the SMGs just dominate the Huntsman, get it to a game number 5, back again on Gunrunner, and this is what happened. Truly unbelievable stuff. And, you know, this definitely deserves a mention. So, first of all, Huntsman got 1-0, 2-0. Scump gets a massive 3-piece in the second round. And, you know, they win a round that they really shouldn't have the Huntsman to get up 2-0. You know, Scump starts off 5-0. Then they go up 3-0 as well. And then the 4-0 round I wanted to share with you guys on screen, because Scump just clutches a 1v2 that he really has no right to win, and especially after getting a kill earlier in the round as well. Moves to 9-0, and you think, wow, okay, this was a tough series, but Scump has bailed them out. Up 4-0, they're going to close it out.
With 30 seconds left, Scump's still alive. Anything can happen. Scump's still alive. Anything can happen. Scump still alive and anything can happen!
However, wasn't to be. You know, Ultra bounced back really, really quickly. And honestly, Huntsman, like, clearly something got in their heads and they thought that they had the series won. They talked after the series about some complacency, them focusing so much on FaZe that they kind of, you know, left Ultra and teams like that down in the depths, really, in terms of their estimations. And you see it really right here. Ultra win 3 rounds, not particularly contested. Clearly, you know, Chicago got in their own head and Ultra were like, okay, guys, focus up. Goes 4-3, then it goes 5-3, but then they battle back to a round 11. And I wanted to share with you guys a clip from the round 11 because it was one of the most nail-biting rounds I've ever seen of Search and Destroy.
Other ideas, Bance is tucked in a nook and cranny, and as we see Formal and Gunless start to push forward, the smoke arises. The tension starts to build.
Envoy's on the bomb, but Bance has just crept out of his position. In green, he's going to find one from Loony. Now Bance is still on the left-hand side. Gunless now desperately trying to make his way forward. 3v3. Neither team is able to make a bad step wrong here, but Bance is crept round the back. Benjamin Bance finds one.
And not greedy, finds one, dips out, it's down to a 2v2. The substitute, can he go well? It's all up to Bance, they know the positioning, and Formal is out of there. He's thinking he knows where Bance is, he's pushing straight through, but Bance has read it with 10 seconds. All he needs to do is make the kill. He's popped the dead silence. Can he get the player off the bomb? Yes, he's... Yeah! Oh my goodness!
Whoa, they killed him! They killed him, they got the round!
Saved!
So Bance was in a 1v2. If he just gets that kill and doesn't get taken out, they win the entire series. Like, how close was that? One of the best S&D maps I've ever seen with all the highlights early on. Then Ultra coming back into it. It gets tense towards the end. The round 11, the way the round 11 plays out with Huntsman going up a 5 versus 3 advantage and throwing it away just to win again at the end. Like, you know, the stuff writes itself. Scump had a great map on the whole, but some poor maps out of, you know, Formal didn't really have a great series on the whole. Well, anyway, we'll have a look at the series total right here. So Huntsman scraped through this one, a really important victory for them, as I said, because otherwise you're going to be going down to losers. Even if you still do make it out, which is very likely that they would have done, you're going to be on the other side of the bracket playing Atlanta FaZe. Not an ideal situation. RCD says a 1.2 because he dominated that first hard point and also the domination. Unfortunate for the Ultra, but you know, these things happen sometimes. Then we got to see Atlanta FaZe in action up against the OpTic Gaming Los Angeles, and this was the scoreboard for map number 1. We have +7, +3, that's +10, +6, that's +16, plus, what is that, 16, so +32, then +19, so that's +51. 51 positive kills in this first hardpoint versus OGLA. That is unbelievable. And this team really just came out the gates flying, and this was the series. 3-0 for the Atlanta FaZe, 250, 121, 6-3, 162, 143. Even the domination seems close. It wasn't as close as it makes out. Look at these KDs, 1.5, 1.8, 1.4, 1.4, 1.5. Like, you can't make this stuff up. Atlanta FaZe just come out and dominate OpTic Gaming, and it's got to be said, right? JCab is the guy we've been looking on this team thinking, okay, pretty, you know, not the best player, I guess. If there's someone who's going to be swapped out, it's going to be him. That's where you've got maybe Chino on the sub bench if you're going to make this change. TJ Halley has played awful so far this year. I think on Draft Buff, he has like negative points or something right now, which isn't pretty. Or at least he had negative points after this series. 0.3 in hardpoint. Like, honestly, it wasn't pretty for the LA OpTic in this series, and I'm sure they don't want me to dwell on this too long, but Atlanta FaZe looking absolutely terrifying, to be honest. Sorry, my camera was a bit washed out there. I've just fixed it now. Not sure exactly why that happened. I thought I started off the video fine. Regardless, let's keep going. Atlanta FaZe, LA OpTic, 3-0, comfortable. Next series, Huntsman played the Rocker, and honestly, Formal said on Twitter after their first series, like, okay, look, we're gonna come out stronger against the Rocker than we did against Ultra. Doesn't happen though, right? On some Petrograd hardpoint, they get honestly blown off the map, 250, 107. One of the more comfortable maps we've seen, but then they really do battle back, kind of sign of champions in that sense. So they win a really close, you know, domination, and then they close out the hardpoint as well. So 3-1, they do make it through to the bracket, and Minnesota Rockets still have a chance to do so, I believe, tomorrow. We'll look at the bracket in just a second here when we get to the end. Paris Legion versus the Toronto Ultra, and again, Ultra just throw away a series. They need someone with the ice, I think. Chance tweeted about this, because 250, 182 in the first hardpoint, they win that kind of comfortably, and then it goes into the search and destroy. Gunrunner S&D, they go up 5-2, and Paris bring it back. They slowly crawl their way back in the series. Zed and Dens had a great, Dens especially, and Shock, sorry, had a really, really great map to S&D, and then they win the domination, they win the hardpoint in a close fashion, and Toronto's hopes that looked so good at the start of the tournament, given you know, how they performed against the Huntsmen, they go out the tournament in last place. That's not pretty by any means. Paris still looking good, and Minnesota did beat them in that opening series that we talked about, even though Paris maybe were favourites, but I kind of fancied Minnesota to do kind of well there. We'll have to see that rematch, Paris versus Minnesota, exactly what happens there, because Denton Shock's looking really, really damn good in this one, and Zed having a great series as well. Luca probably yet to perform to his real potential. If he can do that, then yeah, I would have a lot of faith in this Paris Legion team. Then we have Atlanta versus London, and this was a really, really exciting series, and honestly, I did talk about like how Jordan rated, or Jordan didn't even need to, you know, really perform to mix things up with Atlanta FaZe. They didn't have the best series on the whole. Wiskin once again, just look at these performances over all gamers. Like, he's got to be one of the very best players in the game. There's no denying that. But, you know, Celium just comes out and dominates it. Like, it's so hard to play against a team like Atlanta FaZe. I think London played a really great series here. Like, I thought they played really good COD. I think pretty much any other team in the league, apart from maybe Chicago, they would have probably beaten or at least gone game 5 playing this kind of level. But, yeah, they lose the first hardpoint in a kind of close fashion. They kind of messed up how they're, you know, the spawns and pushing out one of the spawns in the early hills. They messed up that rotation, and therefore they lost it. But if that had gone a different way, London could have gone at 1-0. Then the search and destroy, it was 6-3, but there was a couple of rounds they threw away, which they shouldn't really have lost. So, you know, arguably they could have been 1-1 here, or even 2-0. You know, it's possible, especially after they won the domination, that they could have been up 2-1 in this series. That's FaZe's pretty much only flaw right now, is their domination isn't the best, but they bounced back nicely in the hardpoint. And you know, this hardpoint, I feel like London played so well. They had so many moments where that, you know, they got 3-piece, they got, you know, 4 dead, 5 dead, whatever, and they made some moves. But it always felt like Atlanta, you know, had the upper hand. And it's so deadly when you think about how Celium was like double positive in this 4th hardpoint. They finally took him down off like a 5 streak, and right behind him is Simp to clean up the mess. And as soon as you take him down, Major Maniac's there with the assault rifle to gun you down, and then Priest and then Abesia. Like, honestly, it just doesn't stop with this Atlanta FaZe team. I think London played great, but they just lost to a better team, and there's not too much you can expect other than that, to be honest. And then the final series of the day, Mutineers versus the Los Angeles OpTic. And this didn't go exactly as I was expecting. The first map, LA OpTic won it kind of comfortably. Then the Mutineers bounced back with a round 11 search and destroy win. And then from there, it was a super close series. So this map 3 domination was really, really interesting. It was 146 to 145. Took ages to get a decision on this because it came up on the screen as a draw, which we've seen this glitch a little bit. I think the way it works is, I imagine like Florida had a 2 cap, LA OpTic had a 1 cap, and it was 144 to 144. The game ends, and then the final tick comes in, so it thinks it's a draw, but in fact Mutineers have won because they have more points. So they reviewed it. Eventually they did give Mutineers the win. A really intense game of domination, to be honest. So fair play domination, actually proving it can be quite exciting at times. And then the hardpoint was closed out in a super, super close fashion. So both of these teams not looking good by any means, especially given how London demolished the Mutineers earlier and how FaZe demolished LA OpTic. These are weak teams right now. Mutineers made it through, fair play. LA OpTic out in last place again. Honestly, crushing for them. They really have to go back to the drawing board and see what they can do about this, because it's not pretty by any means. This is the bracket then to finish up with for tomorrow. FaZe, Huntsmen guaranteed through to the semi-finals. Every other team has lost at least one series. So today we're going to see Royal Ravens, Mutineers, Minnesota Rocker, Paris Legion to decide who gets through. And from there, there'll be 3 final matches to decide your champion. The likely it is for me that Ravens make it through, Rocker make it through, FaZe win, Huntsmen win, and Atlanta win the finals. That was my theory the whole way. We'll see if that turns out to be true. Like if you guys enjoyed, subscribe if you're new. As always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.